but I've had a pretty fun lunch, and I'm not going to tell you all the underwear that Colleen and I talked about. It's not really relevant to today. You buy us drinks later, we may disclose. But I am so happy to be here, and you know, I was thinking when Bob Lane was talking about the books that he reads, and this is appropriate for this audience. There's a great book that I just finished reading by Dee Dee Myers called Why Women Should Rule the World. And in there, Dee Dee Myers said, you know, if there had been 3 wise women instead of 3 wise men, they would have got to marry on time. They would have insisted that Joseph find her a hotel room. And they would have brought her things she could use and not frankincense and myrrh. So we all know the power of women and what a difference we make for our families, our businesses, our community, and our state. You know, I was glad that Colleen talked about my mom because really, she and my grandmother are the reason that I am here today because they provided a great role model for me. They didn't always get a fair shake in life, particularly my grandmother who was born in the South during Jim Crow segregation. But what was really phenomenal about both those women is that they never let life's disappointment color their outlook on the world. They never allowed it to diminish what they expected from their children or their grandchildren. And so their tenacity and their belief in what we could accomplish is why I am here. I feel like my life is easy compared to what those 2 women did. My mother worked 8 hours in a factory at what was then AT&T and is now Lucent Technology and soon will be Coda Automotive, putting wires into a mortar board 8 hours a day on her feet. Then she came home and she picked up her 3 children, she fed us dinner, and then she took us to an office building that she cleaned at night. And we didn't know any better. We balled up paper and tossed it in the trash can playing paper basketball. But the tenacity and the strength that she demonstrated to us is that no matter what life gives you, you have to make it work for you. There are no excuses. There is no blaming. You just push forward. And so that's what I think about of the women who are here today, because all of you have taken the challenge. You know, I keep something on my bedstand. It's a saying that I love. It says this: risk more than others think is safe, care more than others think is wise, dream more than others think is practical, and expect more than others think is possible. And I think that really is how you have a fulfilling life, and it's really been the story of my life, and each of you out there have a story. You know, no matter where you start in life, people have a tendency to underestimate you, to tell you what you can't achieve because they are afraid. They color your ambitions with what their own fears are. But what we see today in our 4 visionary winners, what all of you who are business owners, are women leaders, is that you know that if you're willing to roll up your sleeves, get out there and work, that the impossible suddenly becomes possible. But you've got to be willing to hold on to your own dreams and not let others' expectations limit how far you can go. It is the strength that's born into each of us because, you know, I would say to all of my women leaders, you know, we have the advantage as women. We work with men every day of our lives. We're wives, we're mothers, we're daughters, we're sisters. We know how to get what we want from them. They have no clue. and so in any business, a relationship, or starting any company, I firmly believe that you have the upper hand. And what is important for us to say to our daughters and for those young women that we work with is to get them to believe it. You know, all of us have a certain amount of gray matter. It's not that the person sitting next to you is any smarter. It's just how hard they're willing to work and how much they're willing to risk and how big they're willing to dream. And so when I tell you I keep that quote on my bedstand, it's because when I look back at my life, that's everything I've done. When I became an attorney, and this year I celebrate 25 years being an attorney. It's hard to believe that. But 25 years ago when I started on this journey, I had no idea where it was going to take me. And I've made some calculated risks in my career that many people couldn't see. When I decided to run for judge at the ripe old age of 32, everybody told me that I was crazy. You can't win. You're running against an incumbent. You're a Democrat in Franklin County. You're an African American. At that time, no African American woman had been elected to the Common Pleas Court. And everybody told me the reason why I couldn't. And yet I believed that I could. I believed that I had a message that if I got it out there to the people that they would embrace. And so I stepped out on faith with a small circle of friends and family, and I just worked harder than my opponent. And the great thing is, he's a nice guy, but I think he sat back and said, just like in business, she's some upstart. You know, she's never going to beat me. I'm a judge. Nobody's going to give her any money. And by the time he figured out I was a threat, it was too late. And I think that's really the example of all of you here. The best thing in life is to be underestimated. Because when people underestimate you, you can keep working under the radar until they figure out that you're a threat. And so then I was on the bench for 9 years. Okay, I beat the incumbent. The second time I run unopposed. And then in the middle of my second term, I decide to leave. I'm willing again to risk more than people think is wise. And everybody looked at me and said, I can't believe that you're leaving. What's wrong with you? You've got this great job. You could be a judge for the rest of your life. Well, at the time, I didn't want to be a judge for the rest of my life. It wasn't about being safe. It was about doing something that felt significant to me, something that was going to get me excited to get up in the morning, something that was going to fuel my passion, because life isn't just about safe. Whenever I talk to young people, I always say to them, choose to be significant, not just successful. It's not always about the money you make. It's about the difference you make, because significance is really about others and success is about you. So if you want to have a life that fuels you every morning, that gets you excited, that you're passionate about, choose significance. And if you choose significance, success will come. And so I decided I was leaving this safe spot. I was going over to Children's Hospital to help create the Center for Child and Family Advocacy, because I believe that I can make a bigger difference there. And that has been the phenomenal journey. 8 years. That center is a national model. We have people come from across the country to see the work that we built there. And it started with vision and passion and commitment and building partnerships and a firm belief that we can make it happen. We dared to risk more than others thought was wise, and we dared to dream big. And so I did that for 8 years, and there's a theme to this story. I think I can't hold a job. I did that for 8 years and then decided to leave for a bigger passion, because I really think it's important that you have to look when the opportunity comes and you see something where you think you can make a bigger difference. Don't be afraid to step out there. Be smart, be strategic. And I always tell young people, you know, when I say to you step out, that doesn't mean that if you're 5'3" and think you're going to play for the NBA, you don't go to school and get good grades. Now, you may never get to the NBA because you can't coach height if you're 5'3", but you can own the team like Dan Gilbert does. He's about 5'6". So you can have goals, you can do what you want to do, but you have to make sure the goals are realistic and that you're willing to put the work and the heart into it.